All right, welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Tiger Talk. I got my man Jason Armstrong here with me on this Monday night. Jason, how we doing tonight?
We are doing good. We're doing
Man,
really good.
yeah, that was a heck of a weekend. You called it. I was not gonna be that bold, but man, you went out there on the limb, and man, those Tigers really held you up this weekend. What are some of your big takeaways from this weekend, man?
Big takeaways are that just and I truly believe this when we were 3-12 that we have showed glimpses where um, we can play with anybody. And I think what changed this weekend, and we showed the ability to win against Mizzou and against Auburn, but in a big spot, against a very good team, we kind of really got over that hump of timely hitting and um and just winning, putting wins together. So um that was the big thing to me, is that for the first time in a while, I'm watching the game going, I feel like very confident right now. The I feel like the team is showing confidence. Our pitchers are pitching with confidence. So that was something different. We looked like the defending national champions with some swagger, with some pride, and that was good to see.
Yeah, for sure. We got some good wins again, like you said, against Mizzou and Auburn. But frankly, LSU's a more talented team than those teams right now. But A&M, not so much. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say A&M's a more talented team than LSU is right now. Um, I mean, you'll see when those guys get drafted. I don't think it's going to be much debatable, but you know the team that plays the best wins that day, and LSU played the best at least the first two games of the series. I don't know how much we'll talk about game three. Game three kind of was what it was, but when you look at game one, Gage, you're looking for Gage Jump to build on what he's done already, and man, he did just that, going 5 1/3. Did allow the 3 earned runs, but they were all solo bombs. I mean, A&M's offense is so good that they're going to get theirs, and all you can ask is that they're solo bombs, and that's exactly what they were. Um, and then Ulloa comes in there in the 6th, gives you an inning and a third, one hit baseball, which was awesome. And then the man himself, Griffin Herring, comes in and slams that door. What did you think about the Tigers' performance on Friday night?
Um, I thought it was gritty, man. We were out hit. A&M, they kind of jumped on us. And what I like, though, is that Jump gave up a total of 6 hits. I think he threw five and a third. He gave up 6 hits, but he gave up 5 in the first 2 innings. And then after that, I mean, he just really settled in. I mean, he was very good. He threw a couple of different breaking balls. He was pitching inside a lot, which I love. And so again, he gave us just a really good effort. And we've done this many times where he's kept us in the game. And you go into the look, our bats weren't great. Really, we got some timely hits, but it wasn't like we hit 300 for the week. I want to say we hit as a team for the whole weekend. It was like 221 as a team for the weekend. So, with 3 home runs, A&M hit 271 with 7 home runs, but we had some timely hits. But, the 6th inning, we're down 3-2. Larson starts us off with a single. Tanks hits a ball that Grohovic has to backhand. He throws it to second. They come off the bag. So we got first and second. Then we get Jones another. So we got the bases loaded. Okay. And we got the bases loaded with no outs, and we're down 3-2. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I've seen this game before many times. And so Pearson comes up and hits a 3-2 double. We go up 4-3. Then Travinsky goes opposite field liner. We're up 5-3. And then Milam gets a single that he tried to stretch to a double. We're up 6-3. So bases loaded right there, and we're down, and we reel off all of these hits. I mean, it was crazy. It was like watching last year's team or something, you know? So the offense really gave us a spark right there. And you mentioned it. Ulloa might be my favorite thing that happened this weekend. And I know he didn't throw a ton. What did he throw, Alex?
Inning and a third.
One, yeah, inning and a third, gives up one hit. So he faced 5 batters. But that slider is different. That slider against lefties was like sharp, freezing them. It's very hard. It's got a very different break to it than most of the other guys. I mean, he was getting it up to 97. And we saw this a little bit in the midweek where I don't care who you're playing. The way he was throwing his slider was like, wait a second, this guy can help us, you know? So he did an awesome job. And then, like you said, the man Herring comes in and, you know, it got hairy. They battled back and, you know, at the end there, things got a little got a little nervous, but yeah, man, we pulled it out. And the crazy thing was, I think in the game 1, we had 4 calls overturned on the field. So I mean, you know, was that game 1
Yeah, that was
that
game one.
happened?
What yeah.
Yeah, game 1. I mean, we get, you know, Travinsky home run that was a crazy play. But you know, I just felt like we were winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, certainly once we got the lead in that game, I didn't feel like we were going to give it up. You know, I mean, got the lead, you know, Ulloa gets the win, you know, and as soon as you get the lead, you know, in that 6th inning or in the 7th inning, you know,
Yeah.
then Griffin Herring, you know, Gage Jump gets or not Gage Jump, but Ulloa gets the first out, and then you know, a runner gets on and Jay Johnson's like, nope, all right, Herring, you're in. We're not playing around. And yeah, I mean, Herring has just been, I mean, I don't think there's we're running out of things to say, good things to say about Griffin Herring, because he's just been so clutch. And it's been such a great thing to have that guy in the bullpen that, you know, if you have the lead, he's not giving it up. So you can at least get one on the weekend. And then we'll go ahead and jump into the next game and talk about the emergence of another guy that seems like he might be moving into that role. But
Man.
then on game 2, you know, we got Luke Holman comes out and not the sharpest. You know, he
Not
gives
in the
up
first inning.
No, first inning he was not super sharp. You know, had 3 walks in the first inning. Gives up, I believe he gave up a couple runs, and it just, but he battled back. He got out of it, limited the damage, and then settled in, and then got into some more trouble later in the game, walked the bases loaded, and then struck out the next 3. I mean, he had no outs, walked the bases loaded, strikes out the next 3 batters to get out of it without giving up any runs. I mean, you can't ask for anything more from Luke Holman. And, you know, then comes the guy we were just talking about. Christian Little comes in, and that dude was feeling himself Saturday night. And the way he was strutting on the mound, I love to see it. I mean, he was up to 98 on the fastball. That cutter was nasty, and he's throwing it for strikes. I mean, he had all 4 pitches working. He kind of ran out of gas there a little bit in the 9th. I mean, it was certainly by far his longest outing of the season. So certainly can't fault him for that. But, you know, and then again, the bats, I mean, had some clutch hitting, you know, got a lot of everybody kind of got, not everybody, but certainly a lot of guys got involved. Obviously, your dudes were dudes. Tommy White, has 2 hits. He's got 2 RBI. Jared Jones has a couple of hits. Stephen Milam had a hit. Stephen Milam had a great weekend, by the way. He
Great
got
weekend.
SEC Freshman of the Week. I mean, he hit 400 this week. He was awesome. What do you think about Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm watching the first inning and I'm going, man, I don't like what I'm seeing from Holman. He wasn't able to pitch inside, and when you don't have a changeup or you don't throw anything that really like runs away from lefties, and I didn't love like the matchup um, with like a righty against all those lefties that A&M had, and he was trying to get the ball inside, and it was like he hit a couple or he hit one, but he kept missing really close to hitting them, and I just watching, I'm going, man, I don't, he gives up I think the double to start off the game, and um, get a quick mound visit. You give up 3 runs in the first inning, and it's like, man, I don't know what he's going to have as an answer. But like you said, he settles in, he finds himself. Um, I thought that was a massive deal when he gave up I think we had an error, and then he walked 2 in a row, and we went bases loaded. I think this is in the 4th, and then he struck out everybody, and it was like good hitters. I mean, he struck out like, I think, Grahovic and Lavalette to get out the inning maybe.
Yeah,
That was
he
massive.
struck out. It was 9-1-2. So it was Targac, Grahovic, and Lavalette.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was not, and the big thing about that was that we go into that inning down, I think it was it was 3-2 at that time, or 3-0, and we get back-to-back bombs from Tanks and Jones. And man, that's just like, those are our guys, and just stepping up when we needed it. I mean, both of them, closing in on. Jones has 20 home runs now for the year, Tanks 19. But we weren't finished, because I think right after that, you get a double by Pearson. That was game 2. That's when that happened. You get the double by Pearson and then the single by Travinsky, and now we're tied 3-3. All right, so Holman goes out there, gets the bases loaded deal, and gets out of it. I think both starting pitchers, game 1 and game 2, got you into the 6th inning, which I think is huge. As a starting pitcher, when you got your starting pitcher going 3 2/3 or 4 1/3, man, it's hard to piece together the rest of the game. So I thought Holman was great. But man, you mentioned it. When Christian Little came in, once he got going, I felt that there was I haven't had that much confidence. I mean, you're going to laugh, but the last time I had confidence like that was like watching Skeens pitch. Okay. I didn't think that they had anything they could do to him, because the way he was thrown, it's kind of like Will McIntyre when he's good for Arkansas, but with better stuff. Little has, I think, better stuff. But McIntyre throws that cutter that's like on the outside corner, and like nobody really, it's hard to hit. It's like he puts it right where he wants it. And Little was doing that. And you could tell it's like he had an out pitch. We've talked about him many times where in the past it's like his line wouldn't look good, but his stuff looked so nasty. But with 2 strikes, they were fighting hits off, and they were hitting, over 300 against him, which has now come way down. But he had the out pitch. I mean, he strikes out 6, I think it was, and just looked great. Like you said, his fastball was incredible. I felt very, very, very confident with him on the mound. So that's a big deal. I mean, Ulloa, Christian Little, in those first 2 games. And look, and I loved what Jay did. We've talked about this many times. I'm a big fan of bringing guys in for like a batter, for like a matchup. And when we get to Sunday, that's where it bothered me. We went back to the thing where we leave a guy in until now he's in trouble. But, you bring Laura in. and he gets a ground ball. I mean, I know they wanted to turn Braden Montgomery, to hit right-handed, and then Guidry gives me a heart attack. Um, you know, with the Appel hits the liner, and we get out of it. So, but I love that we got Lore and Guidry involved. We got those guys back in there. And again, Milazzo, huge, comes up with an insurance run. I mean, I have to apologize. I will never doubt Alex Milazzo's bat again. I'm never again. I will not. Nope, not doing it, because the guy just keeps coming through. I mean, it's really wild just how good he's been for us in these conference games. So great win. I mean, I, I felt so good after those two games about the way we played. And again, we've hit better. It's not like we would, and A&M gave us some things, but we play with a different swag. And man, I mean, I know we're going to get to game 3, but that changed the season drastically, getting that series win.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, after we were done talking about the games this weekend, we'll get into kind of what the math looks like and the path for LSU to make
Mhm.
the NCAA tournament. But man, it was so huge getting game 2. Um, and the other thing is, our lineup was really able to get to their dudes. I mean, they got 2 runs on Evan Oschenbeck. Evan
Mhm.
Oschenbeck might be the best closer in the SEC. I mean, he's a legit dude for A&M. And we chased him after an inning and a third. Now granted, the 2 runs that we did score were unearned, and one of them was on a wild pitch.
Mhm.
But that's a guy that is just, I mean, he has a 1.55 ERA. I mean, that's gross. And you were able to get him out of that game.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gavin Guidry, giving you a heart attack in the night. Yeah, I swear when that ball came off the bat, my heart stopped. I was like, oh no, I thought for sure it was going to be a double in the gap, but it hung
I'm
up there.
glad. I'm glad Kling was in there, because and look, I don't know if whoever else is in there runs that down, um, but who knows? Maybe they take a step back, or whatever. I mean, I'm just glad he was in there and chased it down. But yeah, like you said, we did a pretty decent job against our starters, because look, Prager's good, Lampkin's good. I mean, Tanner Jones has been good. I mean, we did a nice job against their starters, but like each game, whether it was Rudis or Sadeo or Cortez, each game they kind of had a reliever that would come in for 3 innings and really, you know, shut us down. Um, but yeah, we did enough, and yeah, that was we battled, man, definitely.
Yeah, and then out of obligation, we'll talk about game 3. Um, you know, Nate Ackenhausen gets the start. I wasn't sure if he would get the start because I didn't know what his health status was. And he came out and he was, I don't know, I guess maybe effectively wild is maybe a way to say, because I mean he had 4 strikeouts,
Yeah, he
like
did.
2 walks and a hit, and he just didn't seem right. And so, he only goes an inning and 2/3, and that may have been the plan, that he was gonna be kind of an opener, and they weren't gonna let him extend because of the hamstring. They didn't want him to injure that again. But Sam Dutton came in, and man, you look at his line and you're like, "Ooh, that's not good." But man, if you watch the game, he really pitched way better than that line. Um, this is kind of what you were mentioning here, earlier about, maybe leaving a guy in a little bit too long. I know they were trying to. I know I could see what Jay was trying to do. He was trying to leave Dutton in long enough to get to Lavalette, to bring in a lefty for Lavalette, but man, Sam Dutton just kind of ran out of gas, and he gives up the 4 spot. There in the 5th. I think when he leaves, there's at least 2 bases might have been loaded. I can't remember how many runners were on, but there were multiple runners on base when he leaves the game. And then Justin Lohr comes in. He gives up 2 runs, two hits, ended up giving up 3 runs, a walk, and he just didn't have it either. And then Thatcher Hurd comes in, faces 3 batters,
Didn't give up a
walks
hit.
all 3, or sorry, walks all 3 batters. And then Aiden Moffitt comes in and scuffles a little bit when he first comes in, lets some of those earned runners. I mean, A&M ends up putting 9 runs on in the 5th, which is really disappointing because the offense came out, on fire on Sunday, and you had the 3-0 lead coming into the 5th, and you felt so good. You're like, oh man, are we going to get this sweep? And then the 5th inning happens, and you give up a 9 spot. But credit to Aiden Moffitt, he really settled the game down. He ends up going 3 1/3, ends up chewing up more game than anybody else did. And then, they give up some more runs there in the 9th. Will Helmers kind of comes in trying to just kind of finish the game out, and he gives up some more runs. And I mean, ultimately those don't matter. The game was already decided, but what were your thoughts on Sunday?
I thought, that Ackenhausen was actually did well. I mean, he faced 8 batters. He struck out 4 of them. He did have 2 walks, but gave up a hit. I mean, I thought he did well. So, and you kind of got to be like that. You can't just go out there and pump 90-mile-an-hour strikes over. I'm fine with you having at times in the right situation, maybe saying, hey, I'll pitch around this guy and hope to get a pop up or something. But you're right. Dutton did well. And then in the 5th inning, which is always the inning, always at the 5th inning, Dutton, I mean, all he did was throw strikes. I mean, he gives the first pitch of the inning a triple. Then 1-1, throws another strike. Chestnut hits a single. So, there's a run, 3-1. Then you get the 9-hole on a 1-2 count, singles. So again, he's throwing strikes. And then I'm sitting there going, I'm telling my wife, she gets so sick of watching the game with me. I was like, you got to take him out. You got to take him out. He can't face Grahovic. Like, cause I'm watching, I'm like, hey, that pitch he just threw a strike and that guy fouled off. Dude, that's a hanging slider. Like, he got lucky. And again, it was just the way some of the pitches were that was making me nervous. And I go, Grahovic's going to hit a bomb. And next pitch, first pitch, home run. I said, oh, Lord have mercy. So I felt like, look, we got guys in the pen. I mean, we hadn't used that many pitchers. So I just felt like, look, bring somebody in right now, a fresh look to face Grahovic or whatever. Now, then we go Lohr. Now, listen, I never like talking about the players and like saying they're not what I don't really like doing that. But his batting average against is very high. Unless you're going to do a matchup like a lefty matchup, like he came in against Lavalette and he struck him out in a 3-2 pitch. I was like, great. Montgomery, he tried to be too cute. Again, turned him around, walked him. And then he faces Lapel, who again, and he's a switch hitter. I get that. So it wouldn't matter who you brought in, but gives up a home run. Then it's a triple. I just, just wasn't. I didn't love the move. I think he's a matchup guy at this point. Now let's talk about Hurd. I think that Hurd. I'm not done with Hurd. Okay, but I think Hurd is a guy that's got to have a clean inning. I just really do at this point because he comes in and, he's got people on base. When he comes in like that, it usually takes him a little bit to get going. And when he doesn't have a lot of room for error, his breaking ball breaks so much, his fastball runs so much that sometimes he can throw a beautiful breaking ball. And if they lay off, it's a ball in the dirt. And then he's like, well, I'll throw this next one over. And then it just misses. Now it's 2-0. And it's like, well, I'm going to come back with a fastball. And it runs so much that it runs under the hands and it's 3-0. And it takes him a while to get going. And then it's like the pressure's mounting and he doesn't want to be too groove something because now you got runners on the bases. I'm not telling you like I don't want Hurd to pitch anymore. I would just really like to see him with clean innings, or maybe even, you know, start him in a midweek. I don't know. I mean, we don't have many games left, but that's how I prefer to use him. But anyway, Moffitt was good. But listen to this: Lore, Hurd, and then Cam Johnson wound up coming in after Moffitt, who Moffitt pitched great. Moffitt gave you, I mean, he was one of the bright 3 1/3, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. I mean, him and Christian Little gave you like 7 innings with 12 strikeouts and like 3 walks. I mean, those two were great. Lore, Hurd, and Cam Johnson faced 10 batters. They got 1 out. They walked 6 and gave up 7 earned runs. So, you know, just what wasn't great. And I think at this point, Alex, you kind of I would hope by now, and I think Jay does. He should have a very good idea of like, okay, these are my guys going forward for the next 2 series. These are my guys that I feel really good about. And I thought he had kind of gotten there. Like I thought he got in there with Moffitt after Tennessee. And, you know, he came in against Mizzou, and I think that was kind of a weird game with the weather. Nobody was throwing real hard, and he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great. But then, you know, he just kind of he hasn't gone to him again. So anyway, you know, I think that from here on out, we might reduce the arms. You know, have like 7 or 8 or so that we go to, just because I hate it. I hate that we have veterans that are struggling so bad, and I just really don't, you know, I mean, I do have an explanation. I think that, like I said with Hurd, it's starting innings, and maybe Lore, it's just facing lefties, but I just don't get it, to be honest with you. Kind of disappointing. But again, we weren't going to hit Cortez, so it didn't matter. I mean, he dealt throwing 100 miles an hour with nasty stuff going on the ball. And but again, look, we fought. We looked good, and then I I keep hearing we ran out of pitching, but you know what? Kate Anderson didn't pitch. I mean, it's I don't buy into this that, well, that proved that it's going to be hard for us to win, you know, if we lose one of the first 2 games to win a rubber match on. So I don't buy into that because, again, you're not going to play a team like A&M. And I think we learned from the guys we brought in those situations. So I think we'll be a little bit better equipped next time.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, you mentioned, you know, paring down the list, you know, the guys you trust. You know, I think certainly right now, you know, I'll obviously Jump and Hurd, or not Hurd, Holman, Jump and Holman. Obviously, they're locked in as your Friday, Saturday guys. You know, but in the bullpen, I think, you know, obviously Griffin Herring. I think the way Christian Little's been pitching the last few weeks, he's certainly in that group of trusted arms. I think Aiden Moffitt, I mean, for me, I think he
Yeah,
should be in there.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Dutton, I think, is in that conversation. I mean, Sam Dutton, he threw 40 pitches and only 11 balls. He was
Yeah.
40 pitches, 29 for strikes. I mean, the
And,
guy in his career, he's like a 73% strike thrower. Like, he just throws strikes. So I think Sam Dutton's in that I mean, Gavin Guidry.
yep.
I think
Ulloa,
Ulloa,
gotta be.
um, Ackenhausen, you know, however you want to use him, whether you want to use him as your Sunday guy or if you need to bring him in out of the pen, however, you know, he's kind of that flex guy, you know, you can count on to do a lot of different things for you. Um, I think with guys like Lore, Kate Anderson, Javen Coleman, I think those guys can help you, but you got to pick your spots. Kate Anderson's obviously has a ton of talent. He is
That's yeah.
he has a ton of
He's
talent.
got
He's a
yeah.
freshman, you know, and he's still kind of coming along, I feel like. And But
Look,
I think
dude,
he's
I
gonna
would be
pick the
throwing Cade Anderson on Sunday from here on out. I'm starting him on Sunday because let me tell you what none of those guys you ran out there has. They don't have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball from the left side. Somebody that has started games, has mowed, has been a pitcher, for years, has nothing but success, been a winner, nice breaking ball for strikes, can pitch, up in the zone. Man, that guy is good. And he didn't pitch. I mean, I would even go like you mentioned Coleman. Wherever you would bring in Laura at this point, I would maybe say I'm going to bring in Coleman if you want to. But you named it. I think right-handers, you got Little, Ulloa, Moffitt, Guidry, Dutton. Lefties, Herring, Ackenhausen, and we got to throw Anderson. I would like him to start Sunday, to be honest with you. I just think he's that good. But if nothing else, those three lefties. One thing I find interesting is that we talked about all these lefties that we were supposed to have. Dude, we don't have any lefties. And you know what lefty that I think we could use? I swear to you, you're going to think I'm crazy. I think we might see him tomorrow, but I guarantee you the guy can get outs. It's DJ Primo.
Mm.
Put DJ Primo in. They put him in the midweek. The guy's throwing 93 on the black. Not many of our pitchers are throwing outside corner fastballs right now. And his slider was nasty. I don't care if it's in a bullpen. That's all I needed to see. We need lefties right now because we really don't have, outside of Herring, Ackenhausen, those are really the only two that you're high leverage guys you're using right now that are effective. Let me say that. So I would definitely give Primo a look. Hopefully we get to see him. Now look, I like Cam Johnson, but I think Cam Johnson is a guy where like you've got a runner on second with an open base and you need a strikeout, not go start the inning because he's throwing one right down the middle. Great pitch. The next one hits the backstop. So I think in spots, he's like one of those guys where like you're facing like a Blake Burke or like a Lavalette. You got to have stuff. And he does. His arm angle, he's got the stuff where I would go like, hey, throw him out there. Like even if he's wild, he's got the kind of stuff that can get that guy out. So anyway, I I still like the arms we have. I just think we pare him down a little bit, and yeah, man, this is also going back to last year. I've never liked this situation where we don't have a midweek starter that we consistently start. I really am not a fan. I know you got to get work for guys. I do not like this midweek, like start a guy for 2 innings and bring, because what happens is you get in this point where you go, we don't have a Sunday starter. Or what happens if we get to a regional and we got to come up who we start in a reliever? Like I think this whole year you could have been throwing Cade Anderson and like he's your starter. Like he's your Sunday starter. Because right now we're going, who are we going to throw? We're using an opener. Man, we shouldn't have we're in a talented SEC team. We should have a guy that can go out there and give you 3-4 innings, on a Sunday. So, but yeah, so I don't know what we're going to do next Sunday and beyond, but I'd like to see Anderson some more.
I think the plan coming into the season for Anderson was that he was just going to be the midweek starter. I think that was the plan, but he pitched so well on the midweeks, and then there were so many struggles on the pitching staff, so they limited his pitching in the midweek so that he would be available for the weekends. And it just, I think, the big thing is just Hurd just being so down this year, not being able to build off what he did at the end of last year has just been. I hate it for the guy. Like he's got all the talent in the world. He's got some of the best.
He can
stuff
turn it around.
he can. He absolutely can. And it like you said, it sucks to see. I wanted so much for him. I was so high on him coming into the year. And I think, had our rotation been able to stick as Holman jump hurt or jump Holman hurt, or however they wanted to do it. But if those three guys had been able to stick in the rotation, this season would have been very different for us. But can't go back and relitigate what's already
No.
happened. So looking forward, looking at where we stand in the RPI right now. So right now in the RPI, we are 34th in the RPI at 31-18. We've got we're 4-11 in quad 1 games, 10-5 in quad 2 games. But all but one, except for our the midweek against our last midweek against Northwestern tomorrow. But the rest of our games we've got are against quad 1 opponents. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So the next one we got coming up, obviously, is on the road at Bama. You look at this Bama team; they've got a good offense. They're hitting over 300 as a club. They've only hit 82 bombs. So they're right around LSU as far as number of home runs. LSU's hit 86. They've hit 82. But one of the things Alabama does have is a true Sunday starter. They've had a freshman that's been pitching on Sundays for them who has been lights out the last few weeks. So Sunday's been a problem for LSU, as we just kind of, discussed. So if you're going to get 2 of 3 from Bama, I feel like, it's got to be the first 2, against probably, Greg Ferrone's their Friday guy. He's gettable. I mean, he's got an ERA a little over 4, 55 innings pitched, 57 strikeouts, 246 batting average against. So, I mean, he's gettable, but Alabama has played significantly better at home than they have on the road. They've got home series win against Tennessee, who right now is the number 1 team in the country. Who swept LSU. So that's a good team. They're 14th in the RPI, so big opportunity there on the road. What do you think about this Crimson Tide team?
Man, I think they're okay. I think they're pretty good, but like again, you're people are measuring the LSU from earlier in the season, going on the road to play Alabama. Like you got Luke Holman going back to pitch against his team. I mean, I think we're a better team. I think they do have some good bats. I think the Ian Petrutz, who came with oh my gosh, what's the coach's name? I'm drawing a blank right now.
The coach from Maryland,
Rob
Vaughn,
Rob Vaughn. Ian Petrutz came from Maryland, and he's had a nice year. I mean, he's hitting 380, and he's hitting very well in conference too. He's a good bat. The shortstop, Justin LeBron, is a superstar. He might be the best shortstop or having the best year. I mean, you might say Curley from Tennessee, but I mean, Justin LeBron's hitting almost 350 with 11 home runs or something like that. He's got double-digit home runs. Guy's a superstar. The catcher, Matt Gassetti, he's having his best year. He's hitting over 300. I mean, he's never hit close to really 300 in his career. He played 2 years at Florida. Gage Miller is a JUCO transfer. That's I don't hitting over 315. I know that, but he's got 18 home runs.
He's hitting 384 with 18 bombs.
Okay. He must be hitting like 3 something in conference, is what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I mean, but then they've got guys that Will Hodo is just kind of like an okay guy last year in conference, hitting over 300 with 7-8 home runs. TJ McCants, the Ole Miss transfer. I mean, he's a bat that's come around, double-digit home runs. And then they got a freshman, Cade Snell, who's, I want to say, is he hitting close to 400? They've got a lot of bats. They really do. I mean, I think their offense is good. What they've been doing, because Ben Hess was always their ace. They threw him Sunday, actually, against State. And he pitched well finally. But Ferrone, the transfer from Louisville, Zane Adams, is it the freshman lefty pitcher? and then Ben Hess. Those are three. That's a pretty good rotation. They lost a couple of guys to injuries, but they still, they're not like as deep of a bullpen as even A&M. I don't think they can bring out three guys that are gonna, shut you down for a few innings. But you're gonna see the big lefty, the big tall lefty, Alton Davis come in towards the end of games that throws 97. Aiden Moses got a nasty changeup, but he's got a high ERA. So they've got guys just like us. You might look at their numbers and go, "Yeah, man, but they've got stuff." So yes, this is a good team. I just really feel like, I don't know. I like our team. I think we're pitching well right now. Something that's very interesting, um, about Bama, when you look at like the stats, like the SEC, they it's like they don't walk a whole lot, but they also don't strike out a whole lot. I mean, or they don't walk a whole lot. I want to say they like walk the least amount in the whole conference. Um, and so, which is weird, because their on base percentages are high. They've got all these guys that get on base a lot, but they don't take a bunch of free bases. They're up there hacking, Um, they don't strike you out a lot when they're pitching. But their offense is towards the front of the pack in the SEC. Uh, so that's the deal, which I think is our strength right now. I think our strength is our pitching, and so I like the way we match up. I think Holman. There's no way Holman can lose going against his former team, so I'm just going to chalk that up as a win. And so yeah, man, this is one that I thought even earlier that we could take. They haven't been playing great lately. I mean, Bama at one time was like people thought a lock to host. Um, I mean, they're 10-14 right now in conference. Um, so they are better at home, like you said, but uh, I just I like our matchup against them.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think we are the better team, right now. Like you said, that's an interesting, stat that you mentioned. They are. I was just looking at the SEC stats. Alabama is last in walks and last in strikeouts in
Yeah, so
SEC
they
play.
strike out a lot, right?
No, no, they're that last is in fewest number of strikeouts
So they
in the
don't strike
SEC.
out when they're hitting.
They don't strike out. They don't walk. They put the ball in
That's
play.
right. That's right. That's right. I was like, okay, because I saw that and I was like, man, these dudes don't walk and they don't strike out, man. That's yeah. that's
Yeah,
a
so they're gonna put the ball in play a lot. And like I said, I think you're right. I think the pitching matchups I think do favor LSU. Um, I'm gonna say LSU takes 2 out of 3 this
mhm.
weekend. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, I think and which is fine, honestly, because when we were 3-12 and I kind of laid this thing out to what I thought we needed to do. I mean, I thought we were going to sweep at this point. I thought we were going to sweep Missouri and win 2 against um, Auburn. Okay, so I thought we'd have 5 wins there, and then our next series against A&M, we would. This is initially okay. Before I saw how we played, I thought we'd win a game. So I thought we'd have 6 wins. Um, you know, 3, 2, 1, 6 wins through the first 3, and guess what? We've got 6 wins. We've got 2, 2, and 2. So we are like right on pace. I thought that we would get 2 from Bama, and I thought we would sweep Ole Miss. I do not think Ole Miss is good. Like I really don't think they're good at all. Um, and I have nothing against Ole Miss. I just and I watched them play a little bit against Auburn. I was actually shocked that they won that series. I thought that was a series they'd lose, and they should have swept it. Auburn got a wild pitch at the end of the game. They scored 2 in the bottom of the ninth and actually salvaged a win, which was huge. Because, you know, we mentioned this, but we've got, this is what I like, because there's some teams, Alex, that a couple of weeks ago really weren't even in our sights. Right now, there's 5 teams, and I figured that you've got, you got your teams that are a lock to make it in, that are going to host. You're probably your national seeds. Then you've got 3 that are right there. You've got your Georgia, you've got your Mississippi State and South Carolina that are like those next 3. So that's 7. All right. What's the record of SEC teams getting in the tournament? Is 11?
Yeah, it's 11.
Okay. So if that leaves 4, or let's just say it's 3, okay, because I don't know how many more are going to get in. But this is what you got log jams. You got Vandy at 11 and 13, Alabama at 10 and 14, Florida at 10 and 14, Ole Miss 9 and 15, and LSU at 9 15. Okay. Now, out of those, how do you feel about Vandy with 11 wins playing against Tennessee and going to Kentucky? Because I don't feel real great about that for them at all.
No.
Now, let's look at Ole Miss. They've got A&M coming to town. All right. And I don't think A&M's happy right now. That is a very, I mean, I would probably bet money that that's going to be a sweep. Okay. But if nothing else, if they luck out and get a game, and then they've got us, I don't see Ole Miss getting to 13 wins. Florida's got a tough situation because they've got Kentucky and they go to Georgia. But the other thing they have going is they have to be a game over 500. And right now, I want to say they're 1 game over 500. So they have to like split, I think, because they have a midweek. But say they win the midweek, they're going to have to like split Kentucky, Georgia. I don't know that that's a gimme. I mean, those are 2 tough series, and then I think Bama probably has the best route to like 13. They've got LSU and then, us, and then they go to Auburn. So if you take those 5 teams and say, 2 of them probably won't make the tournament, I just like our chances. I think that the way it sets up for us is kind of, now look, we've got to, I know we got to go play ball and we can't go, lay an egg, but I just don't see anything looking at the last 3 weeks of LSU that leads me to believe that, and even, who do we play before Missouri? Was it Tennessee?
Yeah.
Even Tennessee. You could go back 4 weeks. I don't see anything that leads me to believe that we're just going to, go lay an egg right now. I think we're getting better. And I think the last 2 weekend series that we have are pretty favorable. And wouldn't that be something if after everybody thought we were dead dogs, if we made some noise and got back in this joker, huh?
Yeah, man. I mean, there can't be many teams. I mean, I don't know the stats, but there can't be many SEC teams that lost their first 5 SEC series and then came back to win their next 5 SEC series.
Dude, we can do that. We can actually do that, man.
Yeah. So it's
Good
it's
Lord.
pretty incredible. The way they've turned their season around, and it's pretty incredible how quickly we can go from doom and gloom to, hey man, we're going, maybe not going to Omaha, but we're gonna make a, here we go.
We've always been Omaha bound, baby.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this out, let everybody know what we're doing over here. We appreciate your time. Jason, fun as always, man. Can't wait to do it again after another winning weekend on next Monday. And we'll catch everybody next time.